Borderlands fan, don't pay for Borderlands.
The results are in and the Borderlands movie has officially debuted on Rotten Tomatoes with 0%. It's so frustrating because I love Borderlands as an IP and it's just like, it had so much potential. I really wanted to see it, but now I just don't think it's worth it.
So today I'm going to be talking about the Borderlands movie as a Borderlands quote-unquote veteran. I've been playing the game for 12 plus years now. Borderlands 2 was my first ever game I've played back when I was 13 years old. And going to see the movie in theaters, I'm going to give my honest thoughts, my honest feedback. As somebody that knows a lot about Borderlands, I feel like I could bring a new perspective into the movie and not just all the critics that just see the bad ratings. The first elephant in the room that I want to address is the lack of pacing in this movie. I think everyone is going to agree the pacing is pretty horrible. The first half of this movie, I feel like the pacing is actually not too bad. We get a little bit of narration, a little bit of backstory. There is some bonding moments between Tina and Krieg, kind of something all the fans wanted for a long time. I'm not gonna lie, there's some moments where Krieg and Tina, they were doing stuff that was really freaking cool and something I've always imagined could happen, and it did. It felt almost like a fan service, having Krieg throw Tina, kind of reminiscent of what Brick and Tina used to do when Brick mentions that she was riding on his shoulders and tossing bombs everywhere. Krieg kind of reenacts that scene in this movie, which is pretty cool. But the thing that really annoyed me, and we're going to start with Krieg here, Krieg was treated more like an insert than an actual main character. They tried to make a scene where Tina was in trouble and Krieg almost quote-unquote sacrificed himself, but it seemed very cheesy, very forced, and it could have just been done a whole lot better. I get what they were going for. I get they wanted Krieg to be that protector of Tina, but it just seemed really, really forced and not needed 90% of the time. And furthermore, going into Krieg, I feel like he did get his ass beat a few times from, I forgot the dude's name. I think it's Crom, whoever it was at the very end. He did get his ass beat, I'm not gonna lie. But for some reason, they did this thing where they just inserted Borderlands 2 voice lines during it, and it sounded very out of place. I feel like Krieg could have been more rampagey. He was so tame. Tame Krieg. This is Krieg after he goes to therapy. That's the definition of Krieg. He has a little bit of crazy, but he's like very secluded to being like the nice Krieg. Like there's no inner monologue within him, even though verbally he has that inner monologue. It's very weird. I don't understand what the whole point of it was. Overall, Krieg's acting, his actual actor did great, but from a writing perspective, they just did his character so dirty, bro. Krieg deserves so much better, especially from his character. This was the one chance to give his character some backstory a little bit and give him that time to shine, and they failed with Krieg. I'm just gonna be honest with that. Then going over to Tiny Tina, what I thought was gonna be the best part of the movie, for me personally, ended up being the absolute worst character in this movie. No hate towards Ariana Greenbalt, or however you pronounce it. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. No hate towards her actual actress, but she was almost Ava level of unbearable for me in this movie. She was trying to give that little bratty vibe of Tiny Tina, which she didn't even really do to begin with. I mean, Tina backtalked in the previous Borderlands games, but she was never this quote-unquote bitchy, and I think that's the perfect way to honestly say it, because she just reminds me of Ava. She has the character traits of Ava. She thinks she's special throughout the movie. She thinks she's the best, and it's almost worse. It's almost worse than Ava from a character perspective, and I think they also did Tina really, really wrong in this movie. And she had a cool sequence where she gave Roland a bunny named Bob, and Roland was like the last stand, sacrificing myself, and it was really cool. He threw the little Tina doll, the bunny, it zoomed in, it looked cinematic as shit. Moments like that, as a Borderlands fan, made me so happy. Like, things like that is what I wanted. I wanted to see that cool stuff, and I got to. It was just so overshadowed by the terrible writing. It's not even the casting. I had zero issues with the casting. I know they're all old, but I could get past the casting. I actually got to the point where I started liking Lilith a little bit. I know that's crazy, but I actually started liking Lilith because she kind of resonated with the audience, I feel like, and got very annoyed and cringe with everything that was going on. But back on topic to Tina, she was just not Tiny Tina. And if you are a lifelong Borderlands fan and you at least if you played Borderlands 2, you know that is not Tiny Tiny Tina. There was some little hints of Tiny Tina, but they were super forced. Like, let's go, sucker. Like, you know, they were very forced moments, and it was not Tina whatsoever. And yeah, also gutted her character in this movie. And now Roland, the short king of the franchise, I honestly think he did great. For a serious perspective, he did it perfectly. I thought Roland was going to be the major issue going into this movie, but it's actually the complete opposite. He was almost the redeeming factor of this movie. There was moments where he was just doing his role correctly, and they kind of hinted towards like him being short at the very beginning, kind of like getting past that joke. Like Tina was like, you sent your shortest soldier after me, like to come save her, and Roland did good. I think for what he got paid to do and what his purpose was in this movie, Roland executed fine. No problems with him. I would almost argue his writing wasn't even too bad, maybe other than one or two sequences, but nowhere near as bad as how they treated Krieg or Tiny Tina. Now we talk about Tannis. Tannis was actually really well done. Jamie Lee Curtis did a fantastic job playing the role of Tannis in the short amount of time she was actually on screen. You would think that she did pretty bad, but she actually interpreted the whole Tannis sensory issues, not picking up on social cues. Jamie Lee Curtis did that role absolutely amazing, and she had her moments where she had her good character development with Lilith, but it was just so rushed and short-lived. But I can't say they did her too wrong, other than the fact that she's old, and that's the running joke. I think Jamie Lee Curtis portrayed Tannis in the best possible way that she could, and I have no issues with Tannis in this film. And finally, I am going to bind together Lilith and Claptrap into one here, because they're kind of like partners throughout this movie. Claptrap, A+. I thought I was going to really hate Jack Black, because I don't personally mess with Jack Black as a human being, but I'm not going to let that sway my honest thoughts that Jack Black actually did very well as Claptrap. There was moments and references where Claptrap actually carried this film and made the film somewhat chuckleable, if that's a word, and he had the redeeming humor in the movie. Claptrap was the sole purpose that I got a few giggles out, because he did some stuff and said some stuff. Like towards the beginning of the movie, he's scanning a picture of Tiny Tina, and Lilith is like, can you do that without singing? And he's singing. He's like, yeah, of course I can. Then he holds the picture back up to his eye and starts singing again. Like that kind of humor, at least for me, is kind of funny. It's just like,
could you do it without the singing?
Yes.
Claptrap was great. I think Jack Black killed it with Claptrap. I would almost argue I wouldn't mind if Jack Black voiced Claptrap in Borderlands 4. I actually wouldn't mind. But then Lilith is the part where I really hated her the first 20 to 30 minutes. But when she quote unquote kind of got her story with her mother and going back and finding out that her mother was just trying to protect her, and Tannis was the reason that she was able to defend herself. Tannis purposely put her where her mother wanted her to be, so she was able to have the skills to defend herself when she got older, because her mother knew what she could be. And there was this almost Star Wars-like Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi projection scene where Lilith gets to see her mother through Claptrap's eyes, and it's like a echo message or a echo tape, whatever you want to call it, and it was really well done. I think this was awesome. The little memory sequences, things like that were good, but then they also make me think and make me wonder, why didn't we start the movie off as like a prequel for another 30 minutes of Lilith's childhood, how she became to be, how she was in the wasteland, why she's such an asshole, why she has this persona with her, instead of just going right into the movie, oh my gosh, she's cool. For some reason, I found the space rock in the room really fast. I teleported us at the end. I opened the vault, and now I'm the Firehawk. It was very quick, very forced, and not a lot of character development. Usually with movies like this, the characters have to suffer a loss or suffer some sort of barrier. Any hero or any protagonist, I firmly believe, needs to have a barrier in front of them that they overcome to reach their goal. And if they don't have a barrier or any hardship on their way to achieving that goal, it's very hard for me as a viewer to be like, wow, they really deserve this. This is a awesome sequence, when everything the character was just basically handed to them, and it just doesn't make it that much cooler. As a Borderlands fan, it was awesome seeing a lot of this in CGI, like the Firehawk, all that, Roland, some of the lines that were from the games. Roland had one of his Borderlands 1 voice lines during a fighting sequence where the whole you get a bullet thing. Claptrap even made a reference to being the interplanetary space ninja, and there's a lot of great references. They reference the Infinity Pistol, some gun references, but overall, as a Borderlands fan, my biggest gripe is the foundation, once again, was there. I feel like if it's Wonderlands I'm talking about, or the movie, the foundation for greatness was there, and it was right there. It was in reach. It was moments away from being probably one of the best, and I argue the absolute best best video game movie if it really wanted to be, because I looked past the cast, and the cast actually, they started to grow on me, other than Tina, because she was pissing me off. Other than that, the cast was actually very, very nice. And also, the only thing that really threw me off was Moxxi. I'm not trying to sound like I hate women or old women or whatever we call it these days, but Moxxi did not feel like Moxxi to me. Her actress did very well voicing her. I think the voice was pretty spot on, but looks-wise, it was very hard for me to put that to Moxxi in game form. Obviously, Moxxi in game form has more, and the Moxxi in the movie did not. So it was very weird, and the Moxxi in the movie was quite old. But if you look into the lore of Moxxi, Moxxi is very old in the Borderlands games. It's just hard to convey that through a screen. So I do understand the casting. That doesn't mean I enjoy the casting, but I do understand the reasoning behind it. We also get to see Scooter, by the way, in like the very last scene for like 6 seconds. I don't think he talked the entire movie. We just see him towards the end as like a little teaser towards maybe another movie. I don't know what that was all about. I feel like Scooter could have played a nice, cool role. You could have paid homage to the Borderlands players that love Scooter because, I don't know, he's dead, and it would be nice to see him on screen again. But really what this movie falls down to is not even the casting. The casting did their job. They did what they did. The issue with this was the writing. Very similar to Borderlands 3. I feel like the gameplay is great in this movie, but the writing, yeah, it was another miss. It wasn't even trying to pertain to millennials in a lot of ways. It wasn't like Eminem saying Gen Z me, bruh. It wasn't anything along those lines. It was just very stale humor that it didn't make sense. And some of the Borderlands humor does make sense, but there wasn't a lot of Borderlands humor present. Commander Knoxx, the female Knoxx now, she had a nice role, or should I say could have had a nice role. Spoilers in about 3 seconds. 3, 2, yeah, she got obliterated by an orbital cannon. That was a big weird one because she was like making a stand for Roland and defending him because they obviously had history in the past, and she just gets obliterated by an orbital cannon, so that's pretty cool. Like I said, a lot of things very rushed, very forced, but I do feel like this exact cast could have done something good. If things were written differently, this cast would have made a pretty underrated Borderlands film if you look past the actors, okay? Seeing the game I love that I've been playing for literal years now has come to life in so many ways, to the point where like I got goosebumps sometimes, not because the movie was good, but because I'm like, dude, they turned this game that I play to like a real scene with real people, all these people dressed up. They did the vehicles great. There were so many great things and great moments, but it was just overshadowed by, once again, very bad directing and very bad writing. And with a piss poor villain, bad pacing, bad writing was honestly the big issue with this movie. Other than that, I guess the thing I will say is this is one of the very rare occasions where I'm going to have a little bit of sympathy for Mr. Randy Pitchford. He is getting absolutely obliterated on Twitter for something that he's very passionate about. And I know that's crazy coming from me because a lot of my older Borderlands content is me kind of shitting on the decisions they're making internally. But I don't, regardless of the type of person you are, I don't like seeing people's passion work being trashed, even though it is pretty bad. But as a Borderlands fan, I could tell you, if Randy Pitchford is watching people's reviews, or if he's even watching this video, there is something to be learned, and that is there's a clearly loss of touch from what made your games great. The thing that made Borderlands popular clearly isn't there anymore, and I think we kind of need to go back to the drawing board and take a step back and either move this IP to another company entirely, or something big really needs to change immediately for Borderlands to even be considered a respectable IP at this point. Because we're now at the phase where if Borderlands 4 comes out, why would I play Borderlands 4 after what happened with Wonderlands and the movie? Like now this movie I feel like did more harm than it did good, because instead of promoting the Borderlands movie in a possibly positive way with good writing, we promoted it in the worst way possible with, I think it's a 7% on Rotten Tomatoes, and some of the people reviewing this movie are like actual critics that are respected in Hollywood. And if those people aren't respecting your movie and the fans of Borderlands are not respecting your movie, I think you did something wrong with your movie. I'm just saying, I know Randy is very hard-headed and he's gonna be like, everyone's hating because this generation, you're a bigot, whatever he's gonna say. But the truth is, if your hardcore fans don't like it, and if the respectable critics of Los Angeles don't like it, then you did something wrong, and you should probably talk to your fans and the people and let them tell you why it's so bad. And I guess this all boils down to, if we started listening to the creators and the community about 3 years ago, I don't think any of this would have happened, and I rest my case. The Borderlands movie, I give it a 3 out of 10 if you never watched a Borderlands or played a Borderlands thing in your life, or a 4 out of 10 if you're a hardcore Borderlands fan like me, but even at times that feels a little bit generous. But that's my review, guys. I am still taking a little break from Borderlands, as I don't, a lot of people in the space don't really interest me. I still love the game. I love the games and the franchise, and I hope more than anything that this teaches Randy, and not even like stick it to him, but like in a way, yes, to where he's like, oh, okay, I understand Borderlands is my passion, but maybe I'm not in the right headspace for this. Maybe I need to go back and listen to why people aren't enjoying Borderlands anymore, because it's no longer a fluke. You didn't like Borderlands 3's writing, we didn't like Wonderland's writing, and the gameplay of Wonderlands. That was a double whammy, and now we don't like the movie. So yeah, that's the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like button down below, as it does spread out my videos to more people in the Borderlands community. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on another video from me, guys. If you want to see some more Borderlands content from me, hey, feel free to let me know, and I will maybe post some stuff again. All right, guys, have a terrific day, and I'll see you all later.